Okay, I think we're going to go ahead and get started. I think I know all of you, so I'm going to go ahead and introduce myself anyway. I'm Leslie Sandoval. I'm the supervisor of the Language Learning Center. I'm the one that keeps all the technology going. And one of the things that we hear a lot is, I'd really like to use technology more in my class, but I'm not sure how to do it. So what we're going to do today is do a brief, like a real brief overview of some of the different technologies that we have here, and then talk about some different ways you can use them in your classes. And this isn't going to just be me talking. I'm glad there's a lot of you here because I'm going to keep asking you guys, how would you use this in your classes? Because I kind of like this to be an idea sharing session also, so that maybe you can get some of those great ideas out there and help other people come up with some ways to use all the technology. So I already got into some of this. Let's see. So just starting off, why incorporate technology? You can give your students new experiences. We've really come a long way with language learning, from listening to reel-to-reel tapes. You can now with Skype bring native speakers into your classroom. You can incorporate game-based learning. There's lots of different things you can do. It also brings in 21st century skills for your students. They can learn things that they can use in other classes later in life by using technology. And it's also a great way to help keep younger students engaged because so many of them have grown up with this technology. However, just because they've grown up with it, don't assume they know how to use it. It's always a good idea to explain technology to them if you're going to incorporate it, just a note there. So I'm going to start simple, just because one thing a lot of people don't know we have PowerPoint clickers. You can check them out at the desk. If you open up the back where the battery is, there's a little USB thing you plug in, and once you do that, it works with Pages, it works with PowerPoint, it works with Google Slides, and it works with Prezi. So it works with all the major presentation platforms. Classroom uses, it's nice to be able to get around the classroom more. You can get out, you can interact with your students, you can interact with groups, and we've been talking to faculty members and students about their experiences in the Language Learning Center, and a lot of them have said that they like it when the instructors come out and help them and work with them, and there's not that barrier with the traditional kind of sage on the stage thing where the instructor's up here, the students are there, and there's a line that will never be crossed somewhere in the middle. So this kind of lets you cross that line and go over it and move around. I'm not going to do that though because I promised Pam I'd hold still for the recording.
You can do that.
Again, this one probably doesn't have a lot of other uses, so I won't ask you guys too much about that one, but now I'll get into one that does. We've also got document cameras. A lot of people asked for these. We've got them in Lab 1 and Lab 2. If you're in 4 or 6, we can move it for you. Just let us know ahead of time. And I'm going to switch over to this real quick. This can be handy for a lot of different things. You can show your students books, texts, 3D objects. It has a ridiculously good zoom on it, so you can show them all kinds of detail, like the fact that there is another Lincoln on a penny. Yeah. So there you go, the other Lincoln on the back of the penny.
Look at that.
Yeah. So you can put all kinds of objects up here. This could be good for if you were doing, like, say, vocabulary with students. Bring some objects, put them up here. What is this you're looking at? If you're doing adjectives, you could do something descriptive. Okay, tell me what color this is, what shape this is it soft, is it hard, how many of them are there? This is a good way to bring in all those kind of vocabulary things. So just for our first one, does anybody else have any ideas for how to use this in a class? How would you guys
I have a
incorporate
quick
this?
question.
Yeah.
You said it's Lab 1 and Lab 2.
Lab 1 and Lab 2, but we can move them to any of the labs that you need. And I forgot one other thing. Not that we really need it because we've got all these big, beautiful whiteboards in here, but this is also a whiteboard you can use.
Oh.
So you've also got a whiteboard up here for if you need to draw around your objects, annotate anything. So, okay, ideas for other uses in the classroom. Does anybody have any?
For
What you
editing?
got?
Sorry. I'm teaching Chinese, and it's a character-based language, and I can like show students how to write a certain character.
That's a great idea, because you've got to do the stroke order and everything, right? So there you go. And did you have one?
Well, I was thinking about writing. We teach ESL here at CLAC, and I thought it would be really great to facilitate some of the students writing.
That's a good idea too, so that they can actually see what it looks like in the process. Sign language, that was actually one of the reasons we got these, because we were thinking of the sign faculty being able to, make the different signs and have the students be able to see it. They haven't tried that yet though, and we don't have any sign faculty here today, so I'm gonna have to remind them of that. Any other suggestions?
Inductive teaching where you present a text there, and then you ask about how many verbs do you have in this story, where are they, and then you, as they are actually telling you and you pull out, you're guiding them through the grammar, you can actually round it, you can do squares, so it's a reading, and then based on the participation you can start working with the camera. That's a very nice use.
That's great then, because you bring in the reading skills.
Yes,
and
yes.
Then you can branch it out and bring in like the discussion skills and other things as well.
And you can use different colors, like specific verbs. You underline them or you circle them with a specific color so that they know, or you're asking for discourse markers on the text. So for editing and also for grammar, what's good?
And just another suggestion, I know that a lot of times literature classes say, well, we don't know how we would use this stuff. So I know with a lot of the older books, my background's in medieval literature, which I know doesn't have a lot to do with computers, but a lot of times the text changed through the years. So you could bring in some of those older examples of the texts and show people some of the earlier printings, things like that, and show them how things changed between the different printings of books. So that's another idea.
You can also take some of those magazines that we have here in the language lab, just put it down and go through the pages. I'm sure you find something of interest to, to highlight for the students.
That's another good one. So,
Show them like the functioning of a device, like if you're trying to explain how to use a recorder or something, so you can.
yes.
Instead of like, okay, going with every table and every student.
Yes, oh, and incidentally, those recorders just came in.
I know,
But,
I'm excited.
But yeah, that would be another great thing, or your mobile device, because Apple devices you can hook up to your computer and project them, Android devices not so much. So you could put your phone down if you had something to show them, like an app or something that you were using, and navigate through that.
You can make a file of whatever, I don't know, take a picture and save it to a USB, a flash drive or something.
That's a good idea too. Yeah, save your notes that way or whatever you were working on, and send it out to the class later through Learn maybe.
You take a picture with your phone. If you're working on a document and it's all edited at the end, you take a picture with your phone and then you share that picture.
Yeah.
So you take a picture of that.
That's a good idea.
Now, question. At 9:30, I'm teaching. There's a lot of requests for labs, so I didn't get a lab at that time. Can we use those in another classroom?
Are you in Ortega?
No, I need to.
No. The general rule we've been running with is if you're in Ortega, same with the Skype mobile, because, it has less of a chance of, if it's just going up the stairs, it's not that bad, but. And you might check again about the labs, because we've had a couple cancellations, so you might be able to get in. You might check and see if we've got an open lab now.
Question, can you exchange or split the screen, project half of the screen with the document projector and half of the screen with your PowerPoint, let's say?
You know what? You cannot do that in here. You used to be able to. We took it out because nobody was using it. But that I think you can do that in some of the other rooms in Ortega with their instructor stations. I think they have the split inputs, so that might be an option. Any other suggestions before we go on to our next thing? Okay. So you probably, help if I change back to my presentation, sorry. You've probably noticed it because it's sitting over here in the corner making noise. This is our Skype mobile. Really big TV with a Skype camera attached to the top of it. We also have one of these Skype cameras in the movie room. And these are great for if you want to do a group discussion with someone over Skype. So if you want to call a native speaker, an author, a director, anything like that, you can get them and have them talking to your whole class at once. And that's really nice for group discussion type things. One of the things that was done that was incredibly successful is we had a virtual dinner in the movie room where, what were the students again?
It was the French students speaking with some students in Beirut.
And they got together, they both had dinner, the students in Beirut had their dinner, our guys had their dinner in the movie room, and they talked about social issues and political issues and women's issues and all kinds of great things. And having the food there was just kind of a facilitator because everybody was enjoying themselves and having a good time and eating dinner together. It was like sitting down and having dinner with friends. This also can be reserved, just let the lab attendants know. You can also take it to other classrooms in Ortega because I know that you can't always get it in a lab. How
Actually, I used it like a couple of weeks ago in my classroom, and it worked perfectly.
did it? That's
Yeah,
great.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's as long as you plug it into the network, it works great. If you try to run it off Wi-Fi, it might be a little iffy. And that's one of the reasons we recommend do a test call beforehand with whoever you're going to be talking to, just so you can see what the connection looks like, make sure everything looks good. But I'm glad it worked good for
Yeah,
you.
it was perfect.
What did you do?
I'm teaching a class of writing skills, and we were covering the part of the narration and a little bit like the difference between fiction and nonfiction. So we had this kind of talk with an author, a Venezuelan author that just published a book last year about specifically that topic, and we had a conversation about his experience, how was his the strategies that he used in order to write these stories, his experience as an author, and it was in terms of, and also it was really good for the students in terms of having like a person like talking about to them about the process of writing, but also in terms of the cultural exchange between students, my students, and this person who was able to talk about Venezuela and Latin America in general. So it was an awesome class actually. I'm going to do it again.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
But I'm glad you're doing it again.
Yeah.
Does anybody else, how else would you use this in your class?
I would love to use it for professional development. All these workshops that we offer for teaching, if we could invite maybe high school teachers, high school teachers here in the area or elsewhere. I mean, why not just to join us?
That's a great idea.
Just inviting them and document it, how many people are actually accessing to these professional development. And it's not going to count for them, professionally speaking, for high school annual reports, but it could be an introduction for other opportunities where we can offer a more lengthy workshop professional development that they could eventually sign up and make.
I'm gonna go turn that off. Sorry.
I'm thinking like for future professional development, like a lengthy one, but invite them for free to 1 hour to see what it would look like.
That's a great idea.
So maybe inviting them, and for recruiting purposes too. Graduate students who are thinking about maybe coming here to UNM as graduate students for teaching assistantships, it's a nice opportunity for them to be invited and see what are we doing, what are we working on. So
That's a good idea.
So we could use it, right? We could use it here for that. Okay, that's good.
Any other suggestions? So moving on to the next thing, I know a lot of you have utilized these. I'm gonna go ahead and mention them again. We have 40 iPod touches that your students can check out. They can take them out of the LLC for 2 weeks. These are a little older now, so if you want an app on them, let me know. I'll see if it runs. It might still run, but we'll have to check it. It does have a bunch of apps on it already. It's got some dictionaries, some foreign language radio stations. It's got Anki, which is a great free flashcard app if you guys haven't used it before. You can create your own flashcards and then review them on here. But really what people use these a lot for is recording. We have people do them for simple audio recording, where you don't want something quite as nice as needing to be able to distinguish linguistic characteristics, but you just want your students to record an audio file for, to check their grammar, have them recite something, anything like that. It's also great for video recording, and that's one thing that a lot of people do, is they have their students go out and work in groups and make commercials or skits or telenovelas. They love doing those. And they get really dramatic, and they get to bring in everything they've learned for the semester, and then the last day of class they kind of have a little viewing party and watch what everybody did. So those are some other options, and does anybody else have suggestions for things you could do with 40 iPod touches?
Well, they use them before for the mobile gaming, mobile learning. There was a game for learning Spanish.
Mentira.
Mentira.
So they use them.
And you can still do the location-based gaming on here, and actually students could even build their own location-based games if they wanted to. And Mentira is still on here, so it's if anybody wants to resurrect that, talk to me. That'd be an interesting project.
Geocaching. Also.
That's another good idea, geocaching. Nobody's done that yet. Any other suggestions? Okay. Next one, another thing a lot of people don't know, we have in labs 1, 4, and 6, you can share any of the student computer screens to the big TVs or the projector from the instructor station. And is anybody actually logged into their computer that they can use as a game? They run lab computers? No.
That 1, 4, and 6?
1, 4, and 6.
Do the people at the desk usually know that information?
Yes. They know, and they can help you use it. It's not 100% intuitive, but we're looking at other options for getting something a little more user-friendly. But in the applications, there's an application called Remote Desktop. And if you open that, then over here on the side there should be a label with your lab number, like this one says Lab 1, and it'll list all the student computers, and it's listed by the little names on the back of the computer. So you just need to find which one it is you want to share, and click on Observe. And it's on a screensaver right now, it's not very exciting. But if your students were working on, say, group work or something, and they wanted to show what they've done to the class, you could pull up what they've done on their computer and show it off up here.
Could you say that again? So you go to remote desktop connection? Is that?
Remote desktop from the instructor computer.
Or from that?
Yeah.
So that's why you don't have access from
Yeah.
here to you. Okay,
Yeah.
that's fine, okay.
Yeah, just from the instructor
Okay,
computer, because we
okay.
figured otherwise they'd
Okay,
all
yes,
be
and-
sharing and looking at each other's screens, and it'd be kind of a nightmare for testing.
And how do you know which computer is each of them? So for instance, I look at him and I want to share his.
I would tell you that
Oh.
mine's called Buddy Holly.
Okay, okay.
Yep. So just
Okay,
look for
the
Buddy
student
Holly
have-
on the list of computers.
Okay, thank you, I didn't know how.
Okay, let me go back to
This
this.
one Donald Trump.
That's very nice.
What? No. No, we didn't even
I'm
know.
It's not working.
So that would be a good way to, like I said, to share feedback, to share group work. If you had groups breaking out at each of the tables and working on something collaboratively together, then you could say, okay, we're gonna present your stuff now, bring it up on the screen and have them show it off to everybody. Any other how else would you guys use this in your class? Other feedback, suggestions, anything?
Well, if I were possibly gonna have everybody, let's do research on the internet and look up, for example, Latin American politics, right? Pick the country of your choice, the capital, and you can go, let's say somebody says, oh, Buenos Aires, in that case, go to La Nación newspaper, and everybody's got their particular capital, and they're looking at the paper, okay, at the end of the class, or during the middle of it, let's put on what you have discovered of interest that you're going to present to the class briefly, that you've been working on for the last 20 minutes or half an hour of interest, perhaps on a particular topic, for example, how the election is being viewed from a Latin American perspective in different capitals.
That's a great idea, and then they can bring it back and discuss it, and you get the social, you get the cultural, you get the discussion elements in, so that would,
Yeah.
reading also.
Language stuff, the way they use the language, maybe in an editorial page or just on the front page. Yeah, in any case, they're becoming aware of all this wealth of information available to them thanks to the internet. Awesome.
Excuse me. Anybody else have suggestions for use?
Maps for directions with a
That's a
map.
good one.
So I have a map. We all have the same map, but mine has in buildings and location from A to B. So I have to give you instructions on how to go from A to B. So I give you the instructions, and then at the end we can share the computer and make sure that everybody has to have the same route that I actually said. Like go turn right on the first on Avenue Street, and then go north up into 2 miles, so that at the end you share my view, my map, and everybody needs to make sure that they have the same route identified. That would be maybe a basic one.
And it's great that you mentioned maps, because another thing you could do is give students a country and say, okay, you're planning a trip with your group to this country, and then put their map up here and say, okay, now tell us, as you go on your trip, what you're gonna see at each of these different places, what you're gonna do each day, and they could use that to show how they were gonna progress through this trip. So you could get locations, travel, all kinds of food, all kinds of stuff there.
Also, in order to share like the conclusions or in for example, in a debate interaction between different groups or teams, and we can have in each computer the conclusions of each group, and then have it shared with the others. That tool is something.
That's a good idea too. And that actually leads into the next thing I'm going to talk about, which is, have any of you used Poll Everywhere before? It's great, right? A lot of instructors asked us if we supported iClickers, and we don't, partly because the university is trying to get away from them because they're ridiculously expensive for students. They're like $100 an iClicker that students have to buy. Yeah, and that's for a used one, last I knew. And you can do like polling in the classroom with them, but nobody wants to pass that price on to their students, so they aren't using them as much anymore. Poll Everywhere is a really good alternative to iClicker. It's a completely free online service that you can use for taking polls. So like if you were doing a debate and you wanted to just get like a straw man poll, how many people are for this, how many people are against this? You could create a poll, 25 people can respond to it for free on the free accounts, and then you can go up to like 50 on paid accounts. But it gives them lots of different ways they can respond. If they've got Twitter, they can respond with Twitter. They can go to a website and respond on the website, or they can just text the answer from their phone.
Or they can use an iPod.
Yes, or you can use an iPod. I use for the iPods. I've actually got it up here. I put together a little poll here. I didn't know that we had this option. Okay, so here's my poll. The LLC is either awesome or really super awesome. And it tells you up at the top that you can either text a code to that phone number, or they can go to that website and respond. So just so you guys can see how fast it is, I'm going to text real quick here.
They can use their phones.
Mm-hmm.
What else? The iPods?
The iPods, or they can do it from their computers at the desk.
For these ones?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, or their
Yeah.
smartphone.
Yeah, you can.
Or they
iPad.
can respond there?
Yeah, and what you could do is you could put the link in your Learn shell, something like that.
Good.
Hey, there we go. See, we've got people responding just like that. Only awesome?
I didn't see the number
Only
there.
awesome. I'm hurt.
You covered the number there. I want to text that.
Oh. So, and as you can see, you get pretty fast response times with this. So you can actually show them as they're voting how many people have voted for each option.
Do you have instructions for this? Do you have?
I don't have any, but you know what? I can write some up and put them on our website.
It's super easy to use.
It's
Super
really,
easy.
really easy to use. Just go to Poll Everywhere, and like there's a huge button right in the page. Click here to create your poll,
Oh, okay.
and you just hit that. You put in your options, and it does all the rest for you. And then all you have to do is give your students the codes to use.
So that they can participate in the poll.
Mhm.
Are there already polls established that you can use?
Not for this one. There is for the next one I'm going to show you. There's a bunch of established ones. This one is kind of good for if you just want to do that immediate feedback thing, or also just an anonymous feedback, because it's not recording who's answering how in any way. So if you were talking about something, like you said, like politics, and you don't want students outing their political leanings necessarily, but you want to say, what's your opinion of how the paper in Brazil covered this election? People that are leaning for one party or the other might have different opinions on that. So this is a little more anonymous way for them to
This
give some
data
feedback.
is recorded? You have access to it, to that? That is really super awesome for assessment. I'm thinking about, can I think aloud?
Yeah, of course.
So we're trying to measure intercultural competencies in our Spanish courses. So for programmatic assessments, we have a student learning outcome related to how much the student knows about this new culture. But we don't have a rubric for that. So we can ask instructors, each instructor, make sure that throughout the semester you have like 3 of this throughout, at the very beginning, mid, and end. And you can norm the data, and this is kind of your intercultural competency result. That's a
really good idea.
Oh, wow. It's like, wow. I don't need to have a rubric. That's very nice.
So we've already got some ideas going out there. Also good for really quick quizzes. Not that I'm a fan of this, but if you need a gotcha quiz to see if they did their reading the night before, start off with asking them one quick question about what was in the reading. you know? That's just one little simple thing that they would have to know for the reading, and then you get a pretty good picture right away. Oh, can I spend class time on something else, or did they not do the reading? Do you guys have other suggestions for how you use something like this? We already.
Well, the anonymous setting is important in order to in the debates when sometimes it's the only way to make a real engagement activity is to have I don't know, Trump versus Hillary debate, right? And sometimes the anonymous part is really important, so I like that.
If they're working here, it wouldn't be totally anonymous, I guess, because it's two people sharing a computer, I guess. That's the way it's set up.
Yeah, but the good thing about that though is they can still text answers, and I'm willing to bet 95 at least percent of the students have a phone on them when they're in class, so they can pull out their phone and just text them their answer, and that'd be a little more private.
Do they need to have a smartphone or any phone?
Any phone. When I first used this, I still had a not smartphone, a dumb phone, I don't know what you call that. But we were using it at a conference, and you could just text in with your flip phone, anything. As long as it sends text, it works.
But again, we have iPods.
Yes, we have iPods.
So if they don't have smartphones, they can use the iPods.
Yes, you've got 40 little clickers here at your disposal. Or,
Just request them to bring it ahead of time.
yeah, or you can, check these out, once you get here, whichever.
That's nice.
Which this brings me to my,
Quick question.
Yes.
So, can students text using the iPod?
they cannot.
How do they do the?
Okay, they can send outbound texts as long as they're on the Wi-Fi. They couldn't text each other necessarily. Because-
So they can use this to do the everywhere.
Yeah.
Okay.
And this also, it has the web browser on it, so they can go to the web address and respond that way with this, so, which also plays into my next thing I wanted to talk about, which I know some of you are already using, but it's great. Have you guys ever tried Kahoot before? Kahoot is amazing. Because I get excited about game-based learning. So this has some great little game-based quizzes. You were asking about already existing ones. This is pre-populated with something like 10 million quizzes that you can pick from. It has Spanish, it has trivia, it has math, it has everything you can imagine, and you can create your own also. And it's, again, really, really easy to create your own. Let me hop out here real quick. Oops. Okay, so these are just some I searched for. I typed in Spanish. It's got a bunch of different stuff on here, and you'll probably want to look at them to judge the value of whether or not they're actually going to be useful for you at all. If you don't see what you want, then you can just go up here to where it says New Kahoot up in the upper right corner. Let me zoom in so you can actually see. There you go, it's the new K up there. And if you click on that, then you can choose if you want to do a survey, a quiz. The discussion is brand new, it just came out. I haven't looked at that one yet. You can have students compete individually, each with their own device, or you can have them compete as teams. There's also a team mode, so that you can score them based on teams. And I just kind of want to show you how this works. Oops. Let me get back to where I was.
Leslie, do all participants have to create an account?
No. Just the person creating it has to have an account. The students don't have to make an account. I'll show you what it looks like from the student end. So let's go with this Cubano restaurant here. We'll click on play, and this is where you can choose, do you want everybody to have their own device, or do you want to do a group mode? I'm going to just do single player, and it'll say So now all the students with their iPod, their mobile device, their laptop, whatever, they go to kahoot.it and they just put in this PIN code. And I will get it up here on my phone. Come on, phone, do your thing.
Could you do that on your computer
Yes.
if you wanted to?
So the instructor creates the account,
Yes.
not the student, okay.
Yeah, the instructor's the only one that has to have the account. Okay, so let me get this here so you can see what the students see. Oops. Okay, so the students put in their game pin. Okay, they put in a nickname. Okay, and they're ready to go. What the instructor will now see is they will see a list of all their students that are ready to go here. Once you've got all your students in, you just click on the start button and it'll run. And the way it works, at least this one, is it's like a little time trivia quiz type thing. And the phone, which I'll switch back over so you can see, is your controller for the trivia so that you can answer. It gives you 4 different colors and you pick the color that's the right answer, basically. So let me start this. 10 questions, are you ready? Okay, ¿qué países?
Wow.
And the phone now is the little controller, so you just touch whichever one's the right answer.
Mhm.
So, país is Cuba. It
Are they
says
seeing that on the phone, the map, or they're seeing this on the
they're
screen?
going to be looking at the screens.
Okay.
So you'd really want to do this in one of the rooms where you've got the TVs or the projector so that everybody can see the answers. And see, everybody got the right answer, yay. So,
Thankfully.
right. So then you can advance to the next question and it'll show you who's in the lead between each question. So you can get a real competitive thing going between everybody. And
They like that.
yeah, and that's one of the great things about game-based learning is we've all got a competitive nature that's kind of in there, and they get excited when you do things like this and when their group gets the right answer and stuff. So,
You can do it, I mean, these rule by tables,
yeah,
by groups.
yeah. I mean, since you've got the tables already broken out, nice circle tables, great for collaboration. You could just make it group 1, group 2, and tell them, okay, we're going to play through this. You all have to agree on your answer and have one person be responsible for putting the answer in.
Mhm.
So, let me get back out of here. I won't play through the whole thing, because there's lots of questions about food, and I haven't had lunch yet. I'm really not hungry.
Yes, that's right.
Okay, so, again, cultural knowledge, grammar, vocabulary, pretty much anything you could apply kind of a trivia-like thing to. And also I'll write up instructions for this and put them on our website under the training section if anybody wants to use it. Does anybody else have suggestions for how to use it?
I'm going to use it for my students. Maybe they will get interested in the morphemes.
That's what I was thinking about, was your linguistic parts, that you could break it up and use it as a game. That'd be good.
This is fun. Even if it's like a 5-minute activity.
Yeah, just something to get them started, get them woken up.
Well, one thing you could do regarding tests, which I generally don't do in my classes, but just preparations, right? Varieties of the test questions, so the students can practice answering them in a game fashion, so it's more, and also in a group setting, so it's kind of fun as they're learning at the same time for a possible real test further down the line.
That's a good idea, do it in a lower stress
Yeah,
environment, or different type of stress, because they'll still be
it'll be fun.
competing against
stuff.
each other. It'll be
Yeah.
fun, yeah. Great for those.
Grade-based stress. Yeah.
Mhm. Great for those classes right after lunch where everybody comes in and is quietly dozing in their
Yeah.
computers and trying not to be noticed. You can wake them up a little bit and do something fun with them. Any other suggestions for how to use it? Okay, so that was my presentation. Do you guys have any questions? Anything we can do to make technology easier for you or to help you incorporate it in your classes?
I just have a question because I'm interested in the way the corporate university works. Do you guys get a lot of vendors coming in, selling you this kind of technology?
We don't.
Trying to?
I mostly delete all vendor emails.
I'm surprised they don't come physically to knock on your door.
No, believe it or not, the only one that's ever come physically was trying to sell us cardboard boxes. But he brought M&Ms, so there was that. But no, these are just things we kind of stumble over and, you know, like Poll Everywhere I found at a conference, Kahoot I found out from talking to one of the Arabic instructors that said she was using it in her classes. So
Oh,
these are just kind of things that pop up along the way, and so that's also, if you guys find something, if you guys find a technology, like CELAC told us about Read Write, which is great, just, if you find something that you want to see incorporated in the labs, or you want us to present on for your students, or for you, or anything like that, let us know, because we're here to help you, and we want to give you tools to do these kind of fun things with your classes, so. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.